of academic scholarship?
If I reflect on my experience, there are no do's or don'ts. The thing that is fairly clear is that very good scholars vary in their approach and the way they think about things, the way they do things. I have scholars whom I admire greatly who are terrible people, who you would not want any of your children to marry, and you would not want to have to a party if you could avoid it. But they're enormously talented scholars. That's all they do. That's all they think about, and that they do it very well. And I have other colleagues who are very Italian, filled with joy and filled with drink and food and moments of pleasure. And they are very talented and good in operating. So I'm not sure there is anything. I think that there is a distinction that I would make between a job and scholarship. That some of my colleagues do what they do because that is a job, and they secure pay from the job in order to do what they like to do. And that's their view of scholarship.
A kind of logic of consequences.
Oh yes, but a narrow set of consequences. This is an exchange set, but and I think there are more of them now than there used to be, partly because the pay is better than it used to be. And so as the pay gets better, you attract people for whom pay is more important. So some of my colleagues, I don't fully understand, but they are driven by a desire to increase their income, increase their status, things of that sort, and have no really intrinsic interest in the scholarship. It's just an instrument of something. I think scholarship is something you should do because you're driven to it, because that's what you want to do. I met one of my colleagues who retired recently, and when he retired, he stopped all of his scholarship. He no longer has any interest in any of that. He does other things, but that, for me, says that he's probably not a real scholar. That you do what you do because you have to, in some sense, as it's and that quality of being driven is, I think, important.
And we are now close to one of the main themes of your movie on Don Quixote.
Yes, that's right.
The idea of identity, of expression of the self.
Very much. The identity of a scholar. And what does that mean, to say that you try to fulfill that identity? You try to figure out what it is that a proper scholar does, and then you do it. And how do you know what a proper scholar does? That's fairly complicated. No, I can't stand up here and tell you what a proper scholar does. You try to work on that. I can say some of the things that a proper scholar does, and there's probably some flexibility in that. But in your mind, what you're trying to do is say, what is a proper scholar and how does one do it? And that in some of the traditional terms around here is called a calling. It's an English word that may not translate easily into Italian.
Vocazione.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, and scholarship is a calling. It's you don't choose it; it chooses you, in a sense. And once it has chosen you, you don't have a lot of options. I mean, you can. There are, as I said, quite a few different ways in which you can be a good scholar, but on some dimensions, you don't have any choices.
Is there some of Don Quixote even in a good scholar?
Oh yes, of course. The you know, Quixote often did things that looked foolish. And Sancho asked him once, how do you justify all of this? What reasons can you give? What kind of consequential reasons can you give for doing this? And you know what Quixote said? He said, que volverse loco un caballero andante con causa ni grado ni gracias. El toque está desatinar sin ocasión.
Which means?
Which means, for a knight errant to make himself crazy for a reason warrants neither credit nor thanks. The point is to be foolish without any justification. And I like that. And Quixote said, you know, I am in love for no other reason than it is incumbent on knights errant to be in love.
Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you, Giuseppe.
It was very nice
Thank
talking
you
to
for
you.
coming to Stanford. Come again.
I will.